Hello and welcome, I'm Andy Richmond and this is the Big Match Preview brought to you by NFL Insight, taking a look at the New York Jets' visit to the Baltimore Ravens. In this preview we'll cover some of the betting markets, reflect on previous games between the two teams, their seasons so far, and take a look at some of the important tactical elements within the game. And then we'll round out the preview with a small sample of our live match trading statistics, which form the basis of a lot of our trading decisions and strategies on Sunday night when we trade the games live. First of all, we can take a look at how the odds on this contest are being assessed and compare them to the NFL Insight Master Tissue price. We produce that tissue for each and every NFL game that is played, and that gives you an original, authentic tissue in your hands to judge the true price in the marketplace. All of these prices are available via trading sheets, so you can compare a real price based on hundreds of similar games with what you are being offered in the marketplace. In effect, your own tissue in your own hands. They're incredibly useful and powerful if you're betting or trading on any NFL game. So let's take a look at the prices with between the Jets and the Ravens. And first off, I have to say that the Jets probably 2.78. That's probably a little bit of value here. We think they're certainly longer than we think they should be, just a few ticks longer. There might be a little bit of value in that price. You can also see that we have prices for the scoring outcomes in the game, with a touchdown by either side being assessed at around about a 4 to 6 chance at the moment. That gives you a good idea of what price you should be looking for in the marketplace if you're looking for a touchdown as the first scoring play. And of course you can see all the other prices there if you're looking for a Jets touchdown, a Ravens touchdown as the first scoring play, or even a field goal. Those are all there and available for you now. Now, we've started to use matchbook prices for our pre-game trading and assessments, and we urge you probably to give them a try. They're a value alternative to the fixed odds firms and the exchanges like BetDAQ and Betfair. They've got good liquidity available and they cover the NFL fully with a large range of markets. Let's see how they assess the game, or how the game's assessed against the Jets Ravens here. And again, you can see that Jets price 2.84. That is a little bit on the large side judged against our master tissue. They also have handicap betting available, and on that it'll be a -4 that the Ravens are being asked to give up. That's probably just home advantage and another point, brings the sides quite close together. And you can also take a look at the points scored in the game. 46.5 is the points. I'll touch on this in a moment, in just as we flip over the page to the next slide, because as you can see, the Ravens and the Jets have met 8 times. Now, the Ravens lead the series 7-1. In fact, they've won the last 7 games by an aggregate score of 155 to 89. But just going back to that line, 46.5 points, the games have tended to be quite low scoring and intense, and a lot of them have slipped below that line, and I wouldn't wonder that isn't the way to go on Sunday as well. Now, how's the season been going for the Jets and the Ravens? The Jets first, with their 5-5, and you can see that lovely perfect symmetry in their season, and it couldn't be better. Well, judging by the symmetry, it should be a W in the column this weekend. They either win narrowly, so if you're betting on the winning margin, the Jets never win by much. 7 is the most they've won by all year, and there's the winning margins: 1, 7, 2, 3 and 6. Or they've been comprehensively beaten, so I'll leave you to make that choice. Baltimore, well, they've gone 4 and 6. They appear to be suffering from a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. They've gone to overtime in their last 2 games, won 1 and lost 1, but they have lost 4 of their last 5. Now let's move on. Take a look at 5 facets of the game that are important for each team. Pass protection for the Jets. Now, the Jets quarterback Geno Smith, he's been on thin ice all year, but he's had some turnover laden performances, but he's had some horrid pass protection this year, and he was given a real torrid time in his outing against the Bills. Now, the Jets have got to get much better at picking up blitzes and stunts, otherwise Smith is going to continue to struggle, and I think that you'll see the Ravens come with pretty aggressive defence on Sunday. So the offensive line need to be much better at picking up those blitzes and stunts that we'll soon throw at them. Otherwise, Smith is going to be in for another torrid time. Now, with so many glaring weaknesses in the secondary, and more of that in a moment, the blueprint to beating the Jets is to find a way to slow down their pass rush. While this may not be the easiest of tasks, Sunday's game, as well as the game against the Bengals, has made it clear that the Jets are too reliant on their defensive line to blow up plays before they have a chance to feast on the Jets secondary. If the pass rush fails, then the Jets really are in trouble defensively, as that leaves the opposition to absolutely feed on their secondary. That secondary is a mess this year. Rookie D. Milner can consistently get him burnt, and veteran Antonio Cromartie is also playing poorly. He appears to have lost a lot of his speed, which was his best asset, and I expect the Ravens to go after him in this game. If the pass rush doesn't get there, then the Jets secondary could be in for a long afternoon. With Stephen Hill, the Jets wide receiver, going missing in games this year, there is no doubt the Jets need Santonio Holmes, their other major wide receiver, more and more. Last week against the Bills, he only had 2 catches, but they came on 2 fantastic adjustments on big plays and totaled 71 yards. His stats are a little bit deflated because of the poor play from the Geno Smith quarterback position. But Holmes is capable of making plays and getting open that other players just simply can't. He needs to be. He's had a serious hamstring injury, but he's getting healthier all the time. And Holmes' return needs to help the Jets' offense as a whole. It's as clear as day. He's one of the league's better wide receivers, certainly on this roster, and they need to get him involved in the offense more and more. Another week and another alternating result as we've seen for the Jets. I've already touched on it. That one loss. You can fill the rest in yourself. As they follow up a huge upset win over the New Orleans Saints, and then it was another loss against an injury-hit Bills team. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly why this historic pattern has continued for so long. They're actually the first team in NFL history to alternate wins and losses through the first 10 games, but it's a trend that Rex Ryan needs to stop if he wants to get into the playoffs. The win-loss results are not as concerning as the fact that the Jets have played at such a drastically different levels of play from week to week. The biggest concern for the Jets is to how their offense has been declining, especially in the passing game. They've had trouble protecting Geno Smith. He's gone back to his turnover happy ways, and he's just not completing passes. The team probably has a problem handling success, and they need a change in mindset after wins. They need to, if they're going to make some playoff run, they need to find some consistency, because that inconsistency continues, they're not going to make the postseason. Now let's have a look at the Ravens, and similarly as Geno Smith, Joe Flacco, their quarterback, has drawn the ire of critics and detractors this year. Of course, a lot of that's to do with the size of his very, very large paycheck, but the numbers that he's generating are probably smaller than the size of his paycheck at the moment. Part of the problem, however, has been the multitude of unfavourable factors to work with against this season. He's had a poor offensive line, a non-existent running game, and an inconsistent defence that's given up big plays. But it's been far easier to blame Joe Flacco. Now, none of those factors that I've just mentioned in Week 11's loss were really relevant, because the mistakes were firmly down to Flacco. You have to put that down to him. It was his decision making that was poor. As a result, what he's doing, he's playing against a team this week against New York, could mean even more struggles, because defensively the Jets are quite strong. The Jets have been dominant against the run this season. As a result, that's going to need Flacco to move the chains through the air, and more importantly, the Ravens must get better care of the football, and Flacco must do that important as well. I'll touch on Ray Rice in a minute, but part of Rice's success that he had against the Bears was due to the play of the offensive line. Now, there were some issues in pass protection, but the line was excellent in the running game. Now, you have to put that in context and say that the Chicago defensive line is a bit beaten up. They were missing 2 defensive tackles, 2 of their starting defensive tackles. So you have to take that performance with a little bit of a pinch of salt. But it was a promising sign for the offense moving forward, to them getting back to a more balanced offense. If the rushing attack continues to form like this, the Ravens will be dangerous on offense. I mentioned this point earlier in relation to Joe Flacco, but I have to return to turnovers. Through 10 games, he's already thrown more interceptions than he has in any other seasons, and that's been helped largely by a 5-pick outing. That was way back in week 4, and those turnovers are costing Baltimore games. Flacco can't make so many mistakes moving forward for the Ravens to have a shot at the playoffs. He has to be mistake free. This what you have to also look at as well is how well defensively the secondary are playing now. They've been really great against the Bears. They were really good against. They've got some very, very decent receivers, and there's two players I'd like to pick out in particular: Ladarius Webb and Jimmy Smith. Now I can see if the Jets are having problem moving the ball through the air, I really can see either one of those having an interception return on Sunday. I'd keep those two players, Ladarius Webb and Jimmy Smith, firmly on your side. If the secondary can keep up this level of performance, the Ravens defence is going to be a formidable matchup for any opponent. It might be defensively that they actually win games. Now, Ray Rice, I mentioned him earlier. He entered week 11 with 289 rushing yards on the season. That's incredible. The guy's one of my favourite backs. He left it with 131 yards on the game, set the tone early with a 47-yard carry on Baltimore's first play of the game, and capped off that drive with a touchdown. Now you've got to keep some perspective. As I said, the Bears have the worst run defences in the league, so Rice's performance might not mean anything for the rest of the season, but there were good signs. For starters, Rice showed a nice blend of patience and explosiveness, and he made the right decisions as well. That's what he hasn't been doing this year. And he also showed a good burst of pace that explode through the running lanes and gain yards after contact. Now, can he keep it up? This week he faces one of the league's best rushing defences, the Jets. And Rice won't put up the similar sort of numbers against the Jets. So don't look at those box scores and think he's going to do that week in, week out. But if he can have some success, especially in short yardage situation, it gives what I always want offences to have: offensive balance and a much better chance of beating New York. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show our exclusive trading stat sheets, and these have a lot of information about how sides have responded in certain situations before and how often they go on to win the game from certain situations. You can use these as a guideline and have a price to compare with what is on offer at that point from the bookmakers. Here you can see what the true prices should be in the following situations at half time, and we also take a look by comparing games of a similar nature how likely situations are to happen throughout the game. In our live trading room on Sunday night, we have the ability to predict a live tissue price and how likely statistically certain outcomes are to happen. Here you can see that if the game is tied at half-time, Baltimore, taking games of a similar nature, we are looking at probably 800, 900 games of a similar nature here going back years, Baltimore have a 61% chance of going on to win the game, whereas New York have a 39% chance, meaning in that scenario the correct prices will be Baltimore at 1.64 and New York at 2.56 in a 100% book. That would be to go on and win the game, and we have statistics like that for every situation and margin within the game as it progresses. You can also see the chance of either side dashing out into a 10-0 lead and those of a side leading by a certain margin within the game. All of this data gives us a really good idea of the ebbs and flows within a market and how it should be priced at any moment and situation within the game. These statistics that I'm showing now, they're just a small taster of the profusion of data that we have available in those sheets, where it's exclusive to NFL Insight and via the live updates that are available in our trading room on a Sunday night. It makes us able to assess match situations and the odds available at an instant. Now, these match previews are a small part of what we do at NFL Insight, and if you like them, be sure to subscribe to NFL Insight, the NFL Insight TV channel via YouTube, and that's where you'll get all the latest previews. And I'll be back each week to further preview some games and all the big games in the NFL as we move towards the postseason. You can also make sure you check out our betting focus previews via our website, which is www.betting-insight.com. Here we look at all the best betting opportunities in the game once we have taken into account all the tactical factors that I've spoken about in this preview. Come and get involved with us at NFL Insight for all your NFL previews, statistics, trading views and betting advice. We'd like NFL to be at the forefront of a new way of looking at and betting on the NFL.